Hey everyone, I just wanted to check in now that we've finished Unit 2 and are moving on to Unit 3. I hope that you're all staying warm and out of the wind as much as possible. I've got my hoodie on this morning. I just dropped off the kids at school, but I did read through the discussions and journals last night from Unit 2. I just wanted to say great work overall. I think we're off to a wonderful start. We're having some great conversations about topics that can be difficult. And I mean, I hope the way that some of the assignments are framed, such that you're writing a letter to the county manager, for example, if you did the discussion about the Oñate statue, kind of place it in a way that will make some of the conversations less contentious and more thoughtful. Something about that discussion, I really enjoyed reading your ideas, and I really appreciate everyone's focus on the preservation of our history. And I think, that's really what's at stake for most people. That's kind of what's at the heart of the conflict over Oñate statues, or over the ways that the Spanish colonial past has been commemorated in New Mexico. Something to keep in mind about statues and memorials is that they don't preserve our history. Or in other words, our history is preserved without them. We don't all of a sudden forget about Juan de Oñate because there are no statues. And also, some of us pointed out too, the statues that are so contentious were created in the mid to late 90s. They were created for the 500-year anniversary of the Spanish conquest of New Mexico. So we need to keep that in mind as well. Those statues are not primary sources of Oñate's time in New Mexico. They're not things, like the inscription rock at El Morro, where he and other Spanish conquistadores left their names. That's a primary source. That's something they touched. But these statues, these are ways that their descendants, that our communities have decided to commemorate our history. So statues then are about memorialization. They're about putting up on display the figures, events, and issues that we think are important and that we think reflect our values. So I think this is why we can see it's so contentious, because if you put up a statue of Juan de Oñate on horseback, it's something that is glorifying him, especially if that's all that's there, right? And so I really appreciate as well the ideas that many of you had about adding to the monument, adding figures of Pueblo people, or adding text, or putting the statue in a museum. These are things that would contextualize the statue, tell us this is a commemoration that was going on to celebrate Hispano history in New Mexico, but it left out a big part of the story. So flip side here then is the Pueblo perspective. Cutting off the foot of the statue was an important way of getting a voice of the Pueblo people, the Friends of Acoma, having a voice in this history and saying we will not be erased any longer. Because the statue, again, as I'm kind of hinting at, it's not about preserving a kind of multifaceted history, but it's about memorializing a specific person and figure in that history. And so Pueblo people, again, we're like, our history has been silenced. We've been erased from our past, and we don't want to have that. We don't want to have the person who, to us, symbolizes the destruction of our culture, or at least the subjugation of our culture, and a reason that we had to fight back and be resistant and resilient. So these are some of the issues that are still with us, right? We're still having these conversations. They have not been resolved. Unfortunately, we don't have a world in which all of our histories are given equal weight, and we're trying to figure this out. Historians are pushing us in that direction, and I think that's the right way that we should be going as a people. But again, these are what's at issue. All right. So as we turn to Unit 3 then, this week, of course, is the reading. It's the reading tweets due on Sunday. Of course, you can put in your placeholder on the timeline as soon as you have a topic you want to claim. If you still have any questions about how to work the timeline, or exactly what you should be doing on Twitter. Please don't hesitate to reach out, look at what other folks have been doing, and continue to have these great conversations. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to think about how a Spanish colonial culture kind of came together. What happened to kind of put to rest, or at least put in the background, those tensions and conflicts between Pueblos and Spaniards in the 1700s and early 1800s. And then what happened when New Mexico became part of Mexico, once Mexico gained its independence from Spain. So those are the stories, kind of the big picture where we're headed over the next 2 weeks. I hope you're having a good start to this week, and I'll talk to you soon.